Heart on Main Street, the podcast that is the constant in a sea of change. I am your host, Patrick Kaiser. Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited to bring you another episode today. We have a great interview lined up with Crystal Vilkaitis of Rooted in Retail, where we talk about change and what it means to change your brand, to change your identity, to go through a business change. So really excited to bring that to you, to be able to talk about those things with you and learn from what someone who's really gone through a major change, changing from Crystal Media to Rooted in Retail, and what she has seen, the different offerings that she has for retailers like you. So very excited about that. A couple quick updates before we dive in. Last week, we also made some donations. So Heart on Main Street, a big part of what we are doing is helping out retailers that have been affected by natural disasters. Last week, I was down in Florida. We worked with a retailer down there called One Amazing Find, and honestly, an amazing store in itself, amazing people. Before the hurricanes that were in September of last year, had just opened up their second location called Gifted. And 3 weeks in, they had to close everything down, had to restart because of the hurricane. So really excited to be able to work with them, be able to make a donation for them to help them get back on their feet. This donation was also very special because it was provided by the company Nora Fleming. We have a partnership with Nora Fleming, part of their Banded Together program where they sell bands to some of their products, and we are represented by the purple band that Nora Fleming sells. So they were able to donate $10,000 to Heart on Main Street from proceeds of this purple band. And so we are so excited to be able to work with this retailer, to be able to provide money for them so that they can pay back some of the loans that they took out after the hurricane in order to make repairs to both of their stores and inventory and a lot of other things. So, and this was an amazing group of people to be able to work with. It is a fantastic, beautiful store with really special. A lot of their sales reps, their territory managers showed up for the donation. So really this great support for them. It was really beautiful to see. So that was in Tarpon Springs, Florida. And then the next day on Tuesday, March 11th, we went down to Fort Myers Beach, which was the location of our very first donation. We were coming up on 2 years since that donation was made, and we visited with Anita Saraseda, who has been on this podcast previously. She is the owner of the Islander, and her store is up and going. It took her 2 years in order from the hurricane, which was in September of 2022, to her opening back up in September of 2024, which was right before another set of hurricanes. So we were very nervous, very worried about her and what would happen to her store, and just hopefully she wouldn't have to go through all of that again. Thankfully, she did not. A lot more protections for the store and hurricane doors and other things that she put into place to protect the Islander. And it made it through the hurricane, a little bit of water, but overall she was protected during that. And so to be able to see her store, to see the impact that we made there, not only did we do a financial donation, but she was part of our Jumpstart program. So we were able to give her over $22,000 worth of product for her store. We also connected her with other visual merchandisers who are able to work with her store and redesign it, and especially the lighting elements. If you listen back to our last podcast, the visual merchandising techniques with Retail Works, they talked about lighting, and so Anita worked with Retail Works Inc., and really the lighting in the store is impeccable. Comparing it to other stores that I've seen, it's just bright, it's colorful, everything just pops within the store. It is beautiful. So really proud to see that her Anita's store, the Islander, is up and running again, that there were people there, that it was busy, and that this store looks so beautiful. It's a strange thing that oftentimes when you're doing something, you want to see immediate feedback, you want to see immediate results, and that doesn't always come. With Heart on Main Street, really, we are helping businesses rebuild and helping them get back on their feet after a travesty. And it does take sometimes 2 years to be able to go back and see that. So to be able to see what our work went towards and able to see what our efforts, helping them be a part of the community again and really being a stalwart within the community. It's heartwarming, fulfilling. It's a great reminder of why we do the things that we do. And if you would like to help out other retailers, certainly you can go to heartonmainstreet.org. You can make a donation there. You can set up to be monthly donations and really know that this money is going towards an organization that is helping small businesses get back on their feet, helping them remain a part of their community, and doing some great things for these areas that have been affected by natural disasters. So today I mentioned our conversation with Crystal Vilkaitis of Rooted in Retail. Crystal is the founder of Rooted in Retail and also hosts a podcast by the same name, Rooted in Retail. It is an amazing podcast that features retailers and retail experts and people that provide services to retailers, telling their stories and their successes. And really, it is rooted in retail, as it says, about how to be successful in retail and what it takes and the changes that you need to make. So this conversation was incredibly fitting as she has gone through a lot of changes for herself and the business model and what she's doing and growing and thriving because of that. So I wanted her on, which was our webinar that we are going to have the interview from, to be able to talk about those things and what does it take to change and make yourself evolve into the next level so you can be more successful. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Crystal Vilkaitis of Rooted in Retail. Crystal, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Patrick. I'm thrilled to be here.
You're an inspiration to myself as well as I know many other retailers and entrepreneurs out there. So since the last time that we have talked, there have been some changes within Crystal Media, now Rooted in Retail. So definitely want to talk to you about that, the process of rebranding and what all goes into that, as maybe some other retailers have some big or little thoughts about rebranding themselves, but also what this allows you to do and other services that you're able to offer to retailers under the new branding. And then I know you just have your pulse on the retail ecosystem. So want to kind of pick your brain about everything that's going on within retail and what you see of how other retailers can thrive within their communities. So
sounds like a great conversation. I'm ready.
All right. Well, let's start with, I'll first off start by saying congratulations on rebranding your business from Crystal Media to Rooted in Retail. That is a big endeavor. So let's kick it off with a big question. Why did we transition from Crystal Media to Rooted in Retail? And what was the inspiration behind that change?
Yeah, well, it's funny how business works. Like you sometimes, and I talk about this on my podcast a lot, like you just kind of have to take a step and take another step and take another step. And then information unfolds and we learn new things and we hear new things and we get new ideas. And for me, what happened was, I started this company as Crystal Media in 2012 and just started helping independent retailers. And that's who we worked with this entire time, is always independent retailers. Like we haven't worked with any other type of business. And so in March of 2023, I launched my podcast, Rooted in Retail. That's the name of the podcast at that time. And
it's a great name. I love that. It's just, it's perfect. Yeah.
I love it too. And it was just like, it was so exactly what we do. I've been in the retail space. I started in 2010. I had retail clients before that. I had a social media business before that, but just we are so rooted in retail. And the conversations that we were having on the podcast were successful retailers, retail pros. And so the brand, people got it, they remembered it. And as the podcast went on, like we're a year plus in, I'm just thinking this really represents what we do and who we serve a lot more than Crystal Media. And obviously, like I am Crystal and it's named after my me, and a personal brand works really well. Like that is something that's working really well right now, is having your personal brand, showing your face, like building you as the authority. But I wanted it to be really clear. Like if you hear Crystal Media, if you saw that, you Googled something or you saw it somewhere, that really doesn't say what it is. It sounds like it's a
Mm.
media company.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I've taught
Yeah.
social media forever. I'm also very rooted in social media. But I was also, as I was having these conversations, I wanted to create a place that wasn't just social media. I wanted us to kind of grow the brand into something that was more than social and really connected to our audience. And so it just made so much sense to have Rooted in Retail. And then we've got the podcast and we have other ways that we help our retailers, but that being the brand. And thankfully, it's been going really well. You never know.
Yeah. I mean,
You
changing a
never know.
brand is difficult. Yeah.
It is. It's a lot of work. I actually did it in 2017. I changed from Crystal Media to Social Edge,
Okay.
and that was a mistake. It was a very hard, like we
Interesting.
changed everything. You go through the whole process. And in that time, I was just leaning more into the social media aspect. And
Yeah.
so, but what was happening is at conferences, they didn't know how to introduce me. They would just be like, and now it's Crystal with Crystal. Like they forgot that it was Social Edge. They knew I can't call you Crystal Media. Like it didn't stick. It didn't resonate. I'm like, this isn't working. We've got to backtrack. And so thankfully now I tried it again and it has worked really well. People get it. We're growing faster. It just really helps support when you know who you're working with and you talk about that. And I just feel like our retailers listening, something to kind of take away from this and learn from this is that you have to just get really clear on who you serve and how you show up. And is that being communicated well? It doesn't mean that you have to like say who you serve in the name of your business like I
Sure.
do, Rooted in Retail, right? You know that it's the industry. But I think it's really important that we are on brand. We're representing who we are today, where we want to go, what that future looks like. And because I wasn't just going to be social media and I wanted to stay really deep with our retailers, I have there's no interest, there's no plans to go outside of retail. It just really made sense to integrate that. So don't be afraid, to
Yeah.
analyze, to assess, to make sure the messaging is right and to make the change. And you know what? If it doesn't work out like it didn't the first time, you can always fix it. Like, it's okay. But thankfully we're good now.
Yeah. Good. And so, I mean, changing, you had a well-established brand for over a decade. Changing that, I mean, it's not a small feat. Was there a point where, and probably having the podcast of a similar name helped, but was there a point where you just like kind of this clicked and like, okay, this is gonna be right, and this is where we want to go?
I feel like it really was about a year after the podcast and just going to some different conferences, going to markets, like seeing people face to face
Yeah.
and getting that feedback. And everybody was like Rooted in Retail, Rooted in Retail. They just like they were connecting and resonating with the brand. And so there wasn't necessarily like a specific moment where I'm like, oh, this is it. It just was kind of several things that were happening that I'm like, then all of a sudden just makes so much sense. Like we really are rooted in retail
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the path we should take.
Perfect. Yeah. And I know one thing, retailers love is, it's through podcast is really that actionable advice that you give. But how does the brand really allow you now to serve retailers better?
Well, so when I think of Rooted in Retail, I really wanted to create a place that's a central source of truth for retailers because there there is so much information out there. It could feel so overwhelming. And I've heard this over the years. Like, oh, I go here, I go here, I go here. Like,
Mm.
what's right? What isn't? There's so much information. And I really wanted there to be a central place that they could go and hear a lot of different stories. They can learn from you. I've had you on the
Yeah.
podcast. I've had so many different retailers. Like, let's learn from the successful retailers. Let's hear from our peers. I wanted to bring in the pros. And so having that central place to really support the retailer in all aspects of retail was really the vision. And Rooted in Retail, just that brand, that name, and what we were doing on the podcast really fit that. And then as we go into, how we make money, because the podcast's free, you can listen to that, you can tune in at any time. But we have our membership that goes deeper from an education and support perspective. So because I don't know about you, I know you're a podcast listener like me, like you're listening to a conversation and you have so many questions for the person. Like you just want, I wish I had access. I wish I could go deeper. And that was something that I was really wanting to do, where like Crystal Media, we were just so social media.
Okay,
and so to give, to give access to the people on the show and to go deeper, to give access to me, which I haven't done in over a decade. Like I haven't really done a lot of like group coaching or anything like that. So that was new with our Rooted in Retail membership now. And so that's really where like, just, I got really clear on what are we trying to achieve here, and who are we, and trying to really partner. Like it's actually, we posted a reel on Instagram a couple of days ago. It's Kathy Wagner, who I know is on the board of Heart on Main Street and a good friend. And she's speaking at my conference Evolve, and she's saying, Crystal, you're so abundant. Like you have people, all sorts of people here in the audience, or that are here at Evolve, that we could be competitors. Like I bring together a lot of people that could be competitors to me. I am just a believer that there's so many great resources out there for retailers. Let's put them under one roof. Let's connect them to the right people, because we don't always resonate with, all the same type of people. And so that's where we need variety, but let's have access to these people that can really help support our business, have those conversations, go deeper. I hope that answers your question. I feel like I went off on a tangent.
No, and and that is one thing I've always loved, is like I see you as kind of like almost a central point of so many other resources within that provide services to retailers. And so you talked about Kathy Wagner, but what would be some of those others that you could either have access to through membership with Rooted in Retail, or people that have been on your podcast that other retailers can learn from, that they can connect to as well?
Yeah. Well, so yesterday we had a group coaching call with Ramon. He's got Ramon at Home on YouTube. Okay. He has almost 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. Wow. He is a YouTube influencer. YouTube identified a handful of creators and invited them to the YouTube offices for a week, took them out to like parties and fed them and taught them and just like really immerse them in the world. And he was one of those people. And so I brought him on to speak to our members yesterday about YouTube, because for me, and I'm going to talk about this at my conference Evolve, you'll hear me talk more about YouTube. I think there's a lot of power in YouTube. Like, I think we're going to see a surge in it this year from a marketer perspective, from a creator perspective. Yeah. I can see YouTube's really changing their algorithm. All the social media platforms are changing their algorithm. Like Meta is going crazy with them, not loving what Meta is doing, but I'm loving what
it's changing. YouTube is
it's changing. And so anyways, like I see such power with YouTube, and I'm not a YouTube expert. I know a lot, but like, I'm not an expert. Yeah. I didn't build 300,000 subscribers on my channel. Like, so I found Ramon, he came on and talked to our audience, which was really cool. Nick McHenry, who also is a friend of Heart on Main Street too, One Shop Retail. He's in our membership too, for group coaching around email marketing, text marketing, loyalty. I just feel so strongly that for independent retailers in 2025, and I mean, this has been the story for many years now, but like now more than ever, it's so critical that they have their own database, that they have their own list. Like, because these algorithms are changing so much, you just cannot purely count on the fact that I can post to Instagram and people are going to see what I'm doing and come into my store for my events or buy the new products or attend my live stream. Like, it's just, the game is changing. And so you really need to grow your list. So again, I'm not an email or text expert, I can speak to it, but I rather our retailers learn from our experts. And so those are a couple of examples of just kind of going deeper and having that access. We have high level conversations that are really still pretty valuable on the podcast for free, but then getting your questions answered, we go a little bit deeper in membership.
Yeah, with Nick McHenry, one thing I learned from him is, really that this concept of you do not own your followers or your follower list. If, whatever platform decides that all of a sudden they just want to either not push your stuff out or ban you or whatever, you lose all of that. And that
Yep.
if you don't have your email list, you don't have this backup other way for you to contact, you could have 100,000 followers on Instagram and that could be gone in a second. And so needing something that you own in order to be able to continue that and be able to market out to your retailers.
It's so true. Well, and you look at TikTok, a lot of our independents are on TikTok. I think they should be. But there are creators that have built this amazing business off of TikTok. And when it got shut down for a whole 24 hours,
Yeah.
they were freaking out because their entire business overnight got shut down. I know our independent retailers can relate to that with COVID,
Sure.
overnight. You got shut down. But you did have other channels like social and email to sell through. We got creative. And so you've got to have those backup plans. It's so critical.
Yeah. And so with the, growth of YouTube, and I know you'll talk more about it at Evolve, don't want to spoil your conversation there, but I know from especially younger generations, there is the YouTube influencer, and that being like a pretty large part of their kind of cultural conversations. Is it, more of an emphasis of coming from that the YouTube, or, a difference of your supplement to TikTok, or kind of where do you see kind of the growth of YouTube coming from
Well,
for retailers?
it's happening for all demographics. The attention is going to YouTube. So to your point, the younger audience, even just kids, they love watching other kids play with toys.
Yes.
They love it, right? And
As
so
a father of a young kid, yes.
yeah, it's so crazy, but they love it. I think the kid's name, there's this kid named Ryan, and he, is like a multi-millionaire because he just plays with kids and his parents upload his content on YouTube. It's really nuts. And so the attention, we want to go as marketers, we want to go where the attention is. And so if you have a toy store and you're trying to connect with kids, then YouTube's going to be a really great place for you. At the same time, I am going to be 40 this year. I'm a millennial. And do you know where YouTube. I am spending my time on YouTube. I have a couple of shows that I stream on Netflix or Apple, but last night I went to bed watching a podcast on YouTube. And so you're hearing a lot about, how we have to really optimize for the TV screen. And we talked about this in our call yesterday because we're scrolling, but what we're actually doing is instead of scrolling as much, we're now kind of the attention's moving off of mobile and back onto the TV, but we're streaming. And so we have to be really aware, okay, now I'm on a horizontal screen and we want to be filming in a little bit of a higher quality. If you could still be filming on your phone or a camera, but we kind of want that higher quality so it translates better to an actual TV screen. I'll say too, we are seeing the demographics across the board increase from a YouTube perspective. My father, who he's 65-ish, I think. He is getting all of his information from YouTube. He watches about history. So when we're talking, we've got kids, that are around 5 to a 65-year-old, the attention is there. And YouTube is a search engine versus that social media platform. But this is where we're going to learn, to get entertainment, to connect. And it's focused attention because we're wanting that entertainment. Whereas social, we're scrolling, right? It's hard to really capture that attention. So those are a few reasons why I'm bullish. I'm really loving it for retailers. I'm going much deeper on it for myself, for my business this year. And I really think that the retailer's demographic is there. Like
Yeah.
people will find and they'll drive a couple hours to a store. If they like what they're seeing, they connect with you and they'll spend more time with you on YouTube. Like, and the more time we spend, the better the relationship, the deeper the relationship, and we will drive a couple hours. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity.
So if a retailer is looking at that, probably more longer form content that you'd want to put through YouTube. But yeah, you talked about more kind of high resolution camera work. For a long time, especially for social media, it was the vertical, but going more horizontal with shooting, and other, I guess, quick recommendations that you would have for retailers that would want to use YouTube.
Yeah, well, this is from Ramon from our call
Yeah,
yesterday because
yeah,
I asked that. The number one question I get asked with video on social media is how long should it be?
sure.
Everybody
Yeah,
wants to know exactly. And so with YouTube, there actually are lengths that you want to make sure that you stay within. So if you're doing a video purely to just educate, entertain, just build the relationship with the viewer, 5 to 7 minutes is what you
okay.
kind of want to focus on. You can absolutely go longer than that. People can tune in and for hours people will tune into
Right.
content if it's engaging, you know what I
That
mean? So
podcast was probably not 5 to 7 minutes that you were watching last night. It was, yeah,
no,
yeah,
3 hours. I had to
yeah,
I watch in several nights,
yeah.
right? Like I just but I go back if it's entertaining enough, you go back and you finish it. So, but if you're just at least you're like I'm getting started. I just want to know, like, okay, what's my range? 5 to 7 minutes is a good range. Now, if you're someone like Ramon, where he monetizes his YouTube channel, so he makes money from YouTube, if you're trying to have that be a revenue channel for you, a revenue stream for you, which I do think there is opportunities for some of our retailers. And I think it's important that we do ask questions of, should I have a new revenue stream? Should I, does this make sense for me? And again, I'll talk more about that at Evolve, but I think if that is something that could fit for you, then at least 10 minutes. You need longer videos because there's more ad placement. And so like
Got it.
Ramon said, he
Yeah.
makes a lot of money around the holiday season. He's a Christmas expert. He does all these Christmas designs and he'll do 2 to 3 hour videos. There's a lot of ads on those 2 to 3 hour videos where he can make some good money off of that. So it just depends on what you're on YouTube for. I would say most of our retailers are probably there just to connect and engage, entertain. 5 to 7 will be the best for them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just again, it could be a longer story, something you're talking about your store. You could even talk about, you could do a how-to or something to kind of really show that. And if you're thinking of how do I fill up 5 to 7 minutes, because it was like always like, oh my gosh, you want me in the camera for 5 minutes? That's a long time. But
Yeah.
uh, I know you work and talk with so many retailers. What are some inspiring stories, some things that that people have taken your advice or strategies that you've worked with that they've really seen some great success from?
Yeah. Well, so two come to mind. And one of them I talk about all the time because I'm just like, I love her and I'm so proud of her. Michelle Smith with Piccolo Mondo Toys. She has 3 toy stores in the Portland, Oregon area. And she came into our world, I believe it was like 2020, kind of around the pandemic, like summertime, and saw a webinar of mine. And I was talking about, you got to put yourself out there and you've got to connect with people and just doing a lot of, like mindset work on doing video. Cause like you
Yeah,
just said, people get terrified
scary.
about like, how
Yeah.
am I going to come up with 5 minutes on camera? Like it's really hard for people. And honestly, the best kind of content for social media back in 2020 is the same. That's the best today
Okay.
is the humanized content. You're building that relationship, talking to the camera or some sort of human element. It could be hands in the video. It doesn't always have to be face, but like this is where independents so have an advantage over big boxes because you do have your people. You should show people. It's what people resonate with. So she was struggling. Like if you went to Michelle's Instagram, you would not see a face. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. I did not see one face. It was just all product or displays in her store, but that was it. And so she just kind of started listening. And I had a previous podcast called Crystal Uncorked,
Yep.
where I talked about business over wine. There's 100 episodes out there. If anybody wants to go binge them, there's some fun ones in there. But that was my, more about business, not just retail, not just social. And Michelle heard some of those, and I got vulnerable on some of those episodes, which helped give her the permission to be vulnerable too. And it's really amazing to me. I'm actually, I don't know if you've tuned into this segment on the Rooted in Retail podcast, but I have a segment called Retail Therapy.
Okay.
And
Yes.
we give therapy to retailers, and I bring in a therapist, which is a business coach. And so often on those calls, people are looking for permission. And so because we just hold ourselves back, and it's such a bummer. And I do this too. It's such a bummer, like, that we hold ourselves back and that we need that permission. And it really does hold the business back. So Michelle found some of the permission from me, thankfully, and she did it afraid. She started doing some videos, but she had somebody with her to help make her feel more comfortable, which is great. You could totally do that.
Yep.
And
having someone with you, that props, things that like that, it makes you feel more comfortable. Yeah.
It does. And you can have bullets. You can have things like, you should be kind of prepared, because that will also help you feel comfortable. If you're like, I'm just going to hit film and I don't know what I'm really going to talk about today, it's going to be hard to watch.
Then
You're not
5
going to
minutes
feel
is
great
really,
about it.
really long time. If you do, 5 minutes goes by fast. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's so true. And so, long story short, Michelle just sticks with it. She keeps doing it. She keeps doing it. And then you watch the evolution of her Instagram profile, where you never saw a human, to then all of a sudden she's doing like trending audio and she's dancing. She's doing trending audio and she's like crawling on the floor. She launched Toy Talk Tuesdays, a live stream she does every Tuesday, where she'd do thousands of dollars in a night on those toy talks. Like, she just went all in. And so that's like one of my most favorite transformational stories, because it just
she has
shows
such a great personality. And so you see that and you're like, oh my gosh, this person is like made to be in front of a camera. And then you're like, for a long time, she wasn't. And it's like, like you were missing out on so much there.
I know you hate seeing the missed opportunities and kind of the opportunities, the money that we leave on the table. I just, again, because of our own fear and because of the permission, or we don't make it a priority. That's obviously a big thing too for our retailers. We put it on the back burner. But another person is Heidi Hardman with Polka Dots, who she last year at Evolve, as you know, we do retailer awards, and she was the award winner of our 15 Mile Famous award, where, this retailer has really leveraged the community. They've built their local awareness. They've really gotten out there, and it's more than just showing up on social media. It's really like thinking creatively on how we can show up to our community and how we can leverage our local community to drive business. And Heidi, she learned that. I love 15 Mile Famous. I think it's a really great lens for retailers to think about their marketing through. If everybody in a 15-mile radius knew your store, loved your store, knows exactly what you sell, that would probably grow your business. And so when we look through that lens, what Heidi and her team started doing is they were like, okay, well, where else are our perfect customers? How can we show up with them? So then they took out an ad in the local movie theater, because they're like, well, these girls are going out, they're going to the movie theater, then afterwards they want to go shopping. And so they're walking over to our store, and they participated in a parade. They were doing magazine ads. They were doing events, more events, different events, collaborating. I mean, just like going to local businesses and promoting the local businesses on their Facebook pages, which is such a great way to leverage each other's audiences and be a part of the community. So they've really crushed the 15 Mile Famous. And Heidi was actually a guest on my podcast. I think that aired this week, actually, on Sunday. And our topic is how she built a 7-figure store. She's a $1 million store. And having that community brand awareness has really helped her get there.
Yeah. Multiple things I love about that. It's, working with the other retailers in your community. And I mean, there's such power in collaborating with them and, not viewing them as competition, but viewing, you all having more success together makes all boats rise. right?
Right.
And so being able to use them to help promote your business, you're promoting their businesses, and yeah, that power of collaboration amongst retailers is so, I view it as so important to helping your whole shopping district be more successful.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, Ashley Alderson, who's been on this
Yep.
with Botica, her competition over or
Yep.
community over
Can you?
competition. So agree with that. I mean, it's all of, especially for our locals, you just need to leverage. Like doing business is hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And to do it alone and try to just come up with all this on your own, like don't recreate the wheel. How can you really collaborate? How can you be a bigger part of the community and support each other and start? Like often there's so much you can do locally before you're trying to launch your e-com site and drive all this online traffic, and now you have a nationwide audience. I'm not necessarily saying that you shouldn't have e-com. I think that you should. I think that there are strategies with it, and if we haven't done enough to really build locally and be a part of that community, we're probably leaving money on the table.
Leaving things on the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
And her, willing to risk stepping outside of the box and advertise at the local movie theater. Like it's probably something that most retailers don't think of. Like a while ago, I read something. It was used in a different context, but it was you're not just selling clothes. You're selling things to people who like clothes. And so where are they?
Yep.
And that, they're at the movie theater, how can you think outside to really make sure that you're getting to your audience? You're not just selling
Yeah.
toys, you're selling things to people who like toys. And so that it can expand what you're bringing into your store, really expand where you're advertising so that you can bring in more people and create a greater audience for yourself.
So true. It's so true. Got to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah. So retail has gone through some major shifts in within, I mean, certainly over the past 5 years, but even if we're going longer, what are some challenges that you see for independent retailers today, and recommendations that you have for them?
Well, I can't speak too much on this. Obviously, I just want to address the elephant in the room that I
Sure.
think we're all very curious of tariffs and
Tariffs.
what is
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
happening in that world. I am not an expert. I would lean on Management One. I know they're going to do a webinar on March 27th about tariffs that I think everybody should go to. But that is something that is going to have an impact on all of us, not just retailers. But I think retailers really need to learn and have a plan and not freak out. Like I know that we can freak out. Like Dane with Management One at last year's Evolve, he started it with Chicken Little, the video like the sky is falling. We're just like all panicking, and I don't think that we need to do that at all. I think we need to focus on what we can control and come up with a plan. I really, another area from a retail perspective is I have a conference called Evolve. It is specifically that name because it's important that we evolve, we change, we adapt. And so, I mean, I've been in this industry for a long time, and retailers can get kind of stuck in what they've always done. So, we've always done it this way, so this is what we're going to do. Or we tried it once and it didn't work, and so we're not going to do it again. And I just think that there's so much opportunity for us to evolve, for us to ask different questions. And this is sort of a little sneak peek of what I'll be talking about at Evolve, but I really want retailers to ask, like, what if I did do that? What if I did carry this new line? What if I did open a new store? What if I did add a service offering into my business? What if? Let's just kind of have a curious mind and allow us to kind of explore. And why not? Like asking why not? Why not me? Why not my store? If you really have this vision of what you want to achieve, and again, that some of this comes back to giving yourself permission to go after the thing that you want to go after, well, why not you? Like make it happen, go for it. And I think that we can just hold ourselves back like we've been talking about. And look, that's not necessarily a retail specific issue. That is certainly a small business issue.
Everyone, even personal,
For sure. It's a human issue, right?
Yeah.
But I think that why it matters for everyone, but it just really matters for retailers because it's kind of a higher risk. Like you have a lot of overhead. You are like a big part of your community, and retail moves fast. Social media moves fast. AI and technology moves fast. And you are a part of all of that. Like and
Yeah.
you should be a part of all of that. So you're going to feel it. And if you are somebody who doesn't like to evolve or doesn't like change, and actually most humans don't. Like we are designed to not want change. So that feels very uncomfortable for a lot of us. But this is why I want people to ask, well, why not? Or what if? And try to be a little bit more open minded and curious and try new things. I think, especially in 2025, is going to be the year of trying new things, of change, of mix up. And that can create so much innovation. It can create
Yeah.
new ideas, and it can also create fear and scarcity, and that the sky is falling. And so that's where I just really hope that retailers don't feel that way. But that's kind of where I see. I'd love to know from you, Patrick. Like, what do you think is going to be a challenge for retailers here?
Oh man, and throwing the question back at me. That's
I know the host in
uh,
me. I
I
can't
know,
control
I
it.
know. I certainly, yeah, there's the economic side. And so I think we're all kind of bracing for that. Again, I'm not the person to talk on that. I love that you're always just giving references and kind of being that it's, Nick McHenry, we're in Management One. But, you know, looking at things, and I agree, trying things a little bit different, and
Mhm.
that I think we kind of got out of this with pandemic, that for in some ways, but probably then went back into, but like categories of my store is a toy store, my store is a fashion boutique, and I'm not really going to have things outside. I am a gift store, but really challenging yourself to, what if I did bring in something that was a little bit outside? Does that still appeal to my audience? And going back to that, like, I'm not just that type of store, but I'm selling things to people that like those sort of things, and I might allow myself to bring in something else that appeals to that audience as well, but might not fit perfectly within my silo of being that category of store.
Yeah.
So I see that as something that retailers can really take advantage of, and those add-on sales, while you're there picking up, the tried and true. But I like that too.
Yeah.
And being able to bring that home with me.
So true. Well, and something that I really love about that is you get to test the market too.
Yeah.
Like don't be afraid to test the market. I think that we are, again, if we're curious, we want to just understand, and then when the market changes, how are we adapting and what are we doing? And so you can test different products. You should always be testing from your social media perspective and the content that people
Yep.
resonate with. But so much of this comes back to really understanding your perfect customers. And because ultimately, right, you are buying for them, you're talking to them on social. A good episode for people to listen to. I don't know the episode number, but just a couple weeks ago, Ginny, which is Ginny. If you just search Ginny on the Rooted in Retail podcast, any platform, a couple weeks ago, I think March 3rd, it dropped. She is a very successful retailer, very rooted in retail, has a corporate retail background where she managed like thousands of Payless stores. And ultimately, what she is so good at and her superpower is understanding her customer.
Mm.
That means you can buy for them. You know how to talk to them. You know how to get them to come back. And loyalty is that would be another thing. Like I really want retailers to focus on loyalty. Less than 20% of people, a retail industry stat, less than 20% of people come back to a store a second
Yes.
time. So it's
Which
like
is
there's a lot of
mind
golden.
blowing that you're like a great majority of the business is off of one-time buyers.
I
And
know. So let's focus on how we deliver an amazing experience in store, how we capture their information to remarket to them, and really stay in contact, because then you start shortening that gap. Like from 2 to 3, it really shortens. And then 3 to 4, it's like you have a lifetime customer. So we just really want to focus on that. But it ultimately comes back to really knowing your customer. And if you want some good tips, I'd listen to Ginny's podcast
yeah,
episode.
yeah. You've mentioned permissions a couple times. What are things that you're seeing that retailers want permission to do?
Oh, that's a fun question. Uh, I think they want man, it's funny. I think some of them want the permission to not have to use social media.
Okay.
They want to be like, please, please tell me it doesn't work anymore. I don't want to use it. And here's the deal. I will give you permission. You don't have to use social media. Like I've been teaching it for over a decade. Does it work? Yes. Can it drive traffic? Can it sell product? Can it create loyalty? Absolutely. It's not going to work for the retailer who sometimes posts,
Yep.
who never shows their face, who never talks to their customer, who doesn't have any kind of strategy with social. They're just kind of doing it randomly. And it's so like, oh, I have to post to there. Like that's really not going to work for you. I rather you take that pressure off and put that energy into a more sustainable marketing strategy that's sustainable for you. And so, because consistency, I mean, like any platform, it doesn't matter if it's social media, email, radio ads,
Yeah.
streaming YouTube ads, like whatever it is, we got to be consistent with our message and with our marketing. And so, if you're just not going to leverage it and you're just not going to have a strategy and you're not going to be consistent, then let's find a different way for you to be consistent somewhere else that your audience is at, and that's more sustainable for you. So that could be if you identify, like, I have a group of people who, maybe they're streaming music, they stream YouTube and they stream Spotify. Well, maybe those are places that we have an ad that's running. And so, yeah, we have an ad budget. So there's a cost, but I'm consistent without me constantly having to take pictures and do videos and find trending audios and post the content. And so I will give you permission. That doesn't necessarily have to be for you, or you could hire somebody and, they could love that job. Ideally, they're in your store. I do think that's a really big one. Or like permission, I don't know, permission to scale back. Like I'm tired, I'm busy, I'm doing it all. Like, what do I do? And so that could be permission to hire somebody to get help, or it could be scaling back. I think people also want permission to not have to sell online. Like, I think that they just
I don't
hate
want to have a
having their
website. I don't
e-com.
want to
No,
have, which is like another shop that you're trying to manage too. And yeah, makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah.
You have to view it that way. I think it's like you have a second location with an e-com store. And also that can build your business and that can be great for retailers. But it also it doesn't have to be your story and how you make money if that's not what you want to do. There's just so many different channels and avenues. And as small businesses, we can't do them all. Like, we just can't. So you have to really focus on what works for you. So, if you're not going to put the energy in the website, then, like, can we put however much effort you're putting into that? Can we move that into something that's more fulfilling for you, that really connects with your customers, to then really grow that aspect? So I give you permission to not have this website that you got to constantly update and constantly market and drive traffic to. Those would be a couple of my top ones.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very similar to what you were saying about social media. If you're going to be posting every other month, then it's not going to do you any good. If you're not going to be updating your website or putting product, then it's not going to do you. Put that energy towards something that you're actually motivated to and that you are passionate about, in addition to the business.
Yeah, that will be sustainable. I want everybody to look at their marketing through that lens. Like, how can I keep this going? How can I be consistent?
So, what do you see as exciting opportunities for retailers? What are things that, as you're looking, maybe kind of challenges maybe that forthcoming, but what are like things that when you're looking at the retail landscape, you're like, yes, this is really exciting for retailers?
I think, man, I am, well, obviously YouTube's really exciting, but then the in-store experience, like, I just feel there's magic with in-person. They are a part of their community. Like, I have chills talking about this right now because they can really create these moments for people that really need it. Like, again, thinking about Michelle Smith, she's done a meetup for grandparents because how are grandparents making friends? Like you have lonely grandparents or single grandparents. And so she's got a toy store. Well, she hosted a meetup, in her store, have some drinks and meet other seniors, like I just think
Very
that's a
cool. Yeah.
cool thing that she's giving back to her community. A place for people to connect, to be entertained. I just think that that's not going anywhere. In fact, I think that it's really growing because technology is creating more gaps, it is creating more space. Remote work is creating that. And as humans, we do want that connection and we want things to do and places to go and fun. We want to have fun. And so I'm really excited for the retailers that create those awesome moments. I think events are just powerful, but I think that you can even just do small things within the store that really mean a lot to a person, like that really is above and beyond for them. And that's some of the content I'll talk about at Evolve too. Have you read the book Unreasonable Hospitality?
I know of it. I have it on my list, but I think we've maybe talked about it, but I have not read it yet. So
okay,
I'm a little behind.
You need to do it, Patrick. And everybody that's listening needs to listen to that book, read the book. It's by Will Guidara. He took the 50th restaurant in the world to the #1 restaurant in the world. Imagine doing that. I mean, that is a massive accomplishment. And it's how he did it. And he is all about unreasonable hospitality. And we think sometimes that hospitality is in restaurants or hotels, but it is absolutely in retail. If you have a physical storefront or even e-com, like how can you integrate hospitality into your e-com store? There's actually a lot of things you can do. But how do we just really deliver and just turn, moments into these magical experiences, like exceptional experiences? And so I got trained, I'm certified in that training and teaching that to our members, teaching that at Evolve, because that is something I'm so excited about. And I just feel like game changer for retailers. It will help you be resilient. It will help you connect deeper in really meaningful ways with your customers. For those who are doing live selling, the people who are okay with video and who are willing to be consistent, whether it's you or somebody on your team, because I am talking to both, like Lori with the dressing room. I also had her on my podcast. That was a great episode. She's been going live every single day since COVID to this day.
Every single day. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Ooh. I even checked in on her
Good
on Monday of this week to be like, is she still doing it? Oh,
Yeah.
she's still going live every day. I interviewed her last year. And this woman, when she goes live, she makes money. So that's why she goes live. Yep. Like it works for her. She's built this whole audience. She calls her audience, I forget what she calls them, but she has a name kind of like how Taylor Swift has Swifties.
Yeah.
Like she's got her ladies.
Her beehive, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's smart what she's doing there. Again, the consistency. Live shopping's blowing up on TikTok. I mean, I think it's just going to be massive this year. It's already really big. I have a dear friend, and I'm an investor in the company who Tampon Tribe, they connect with influencers. Like you don't have to always be the person who is in front of the camera. Like you can find somebody, and I talked to Ramon about this yesterday. Not everybody's built for the camera, whether we just don't like it or, we're just really awkward. Like that does happen. Dustin Pizer, my husband, is very awkward on the camera. He's getting better, but like he's pretty awkward. And so like, if that's just you can find somebody else, and you might find an influencer who's already has the audience, who's great on camera, and they can sell your products. And TikTok Shops makes it the best so far of matching, like having that platform to have the creators and influencers find the product that they then want to talk about and promote. And so this could be good more for like our e-com stores, a bigger brand, but you can take that and find local people. You might find like a micro influencer who's got 5 to 10,000 followers who could connect your store. Like they could go live in your store. They could have their own little show. They could do a book signing. They could do a Q&A. They could do all sorts of things in your business. And but I will say live selling, if you don't feel comfortable, maybe consider having somebody on the team. Jennifer Johnson's another one with True Fashionista. She's speaking at Evolve.
Yep.
Her team is just doing these live streams. Jennifer will jump in too, but she's got her team down. They're building their relationships and they're selling. It makes money. Like it's just the algorithms like it and it sells and it makes money. So those are some of the things I'm really excited about. YouTube, in-store experiences, TikTok, live selling, lots of opportunities for our retailers.
That's amazing. Yeah. And yeah, the customer experience aspect of it, I just see as like, I mean, I was in a store on Monday and they had a workshop going on and they're working with sea glass and making picture frames out of sea glass. And it was just like a fun thing for people to get together and do. And they're like, oh yeah, we do one a week, and people become friends here. And they decide, yeah, we're going to go out to coffee afterward, and just never met each other. But it's kind of that bringing that community and just something to do and fun. And yeah, bringing in influencers, having events and other things that just bring excitement into the store. Yeah, I think that is just a huge avenue for retailers to really explore more with.
Yeah. And the final thing I'll add to that too, like that connects back to permission, is I think there's so much opportunity, and this goes for any kind of small business or any business, but for retailers, I give you permission to run it the way you want to. Like be yourself. Have your personality come through. What do you want to create? Like what moments, like really step into the shoes of your customers, because I know you love your customers and you know them. Like go follow the thing that you're really pulled to do to create something that's different and unique, because there are obviously so many retailers out there and we can buy online and all the things, but what sets us all apart is what's really unique to you, and your tribe will find that and they will resonate with that. And they see that so clearly. We can tell if it's meaningful and authentic or not through our social content and being in store. And so give the retailer that permission to like really be yourself and really create these moments for your customers that they'll love. Like don't hold back. Like now's the time to do it. Just go all in and have fun.
Yeah. People like that, to know you, the person behind the store, and know your personality, and a little silly, a little goofy, a little awkward. That's okay. Because it's, they walk in, they see you, they know you. So
it's so true.
We also have on our audiences other community organizations, Main Streets and downtown development groups. How can they help support independent retailers? How can they really help build their businesses or make sure that they're more successful?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I so come from an education standpoint just because I am a teacher and speaker and I've been doing that for a long time. So I just feel like because we're in industries that change really fast and retail so fast, education, but make it like as easy as possible for people to consume, because we have really busy retailers. So, as quick as you can. I really like if somebody wants to watch, give the video. If somebody wants to read, give the transcription of the video. If somebody needs the bullets, use AI to bullet and recap the transcription of the video. Like give them all the different ways that they can learn. I think that's really important. So education's a big one. Resource like matchmaking, just connection, I think is a really good one. And that's something that I kind of feel like obviously we focus on education and some of that matchmaking, bringing these pros to our retailers. I just think that's really critical. Resources, like if there's things out there, I was talking to a retailer who really loves the I think it was the Shopify. It was Shopify loans that they give. So like if you need some upfront cash for product that you haven't sold yet, but you got to pay for it, like, are there financial resources out there? I heard of a loan a couple days ago from my mastermind that I'm in. that 0% interest up to 100K for women-owned businesses.
Oh, yeah.
So, finding some of those resources, obviously it's a loan, but 0% is fabulous. Like
Yeah.
if you're just needing some support there, I just think that there's opportunities for associations to point retailers in the direction of some of those grants, financial assistance, and just connection and education. I think those are some really important pieces.
Crystal, do you want to, you've kind of talked about Rooted in Retail and Evolve, but do you want to talk a little, any more about those, or where they can find you? And yeah.
Of course, subscribe to the podcast, listen to the podcast. If you do listen, one of the best things you can do for any podcast is to leave a review. So if you are loving the show, please leave a review. I would love to hear it. And rootedinretail.com is really just, the central source for you to learn from really a lot of different aspects of retail from our retail pros. So that's the best way. And yes, Unreasonable Hospitality, you got to get that book, Vicki. You're going to love it.
Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being on today. You're amazing. I cannot wait for Evolve at the end of or beginning of next month. So we're less than a month away.
Thank you for having me, Patrick, and thank you for doing what you do. I just, how much I love Heart on Main Street. I'm so glad it's here for our retailers, and you're just such an awesome human. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
That was my conversation with Crystal Vilkaitis of Rooted in Retail. Definitely go check out her podcast, Rooted in Retail. Like, subscribe, comment, do the same to this as well. Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street. She says I'm an awesome human being, but to be honest, we're just all trying to figure things out, just like everybody else. So if you would like to donate to Heart on Main Street, you can do so through our website, heartonmainstreet.org. You can also register for any webinar that we have there. This was a recording of a webinar, so you can watch our conversations live. Anyone that registers also receives a free recording of the webinar, and then you can also always catch up with them on this podcast. So again, our website is heartonmainstreet.org. Thank you so much for listening today. Recommend this podcast to anyone that you know that likes small businesses, is a retailer that is looking to improve their business. Remember, shop local and keep your heart on Main Street. Talk to you all next time. This episode is written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser, with a very special thanks to Crystal Vilkaitis of Rooted in Retail. If you'd like more information about Heart on Main Street, you can visit our website, heartonmainstreet.org. Thanks. Bye.